Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome to the Human Beauty Movement podcast, your source for hope, healing, happiness, and humanity. My name is Jennifer Norman. I'm the founder of the Human Beauty Movement and your host. This podcast is here to guide you on your journey of self-love, empowerment, soul alignment, and joy. With each episode, I invite beautiful humans from all corners of the globe to join me for open conversations about their life lessons and the important work that they are doing to help heal humankind. Take a moment now to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. I'm so glad you're here joining me for today's show. Have you ever felt too timid to step up in your life? Maybe you have dreams, goals, and ambitions, but something holds you back. It's that lingering feeling of self-doubt, the fear of failure, or perhaps that overwhelming uncertainty of where to start. These feelings are more common than you think, and they can keep you from reaching your full potential. Today, I'm thrilled to have a guest who is not only a thought leader, but a true game changer and powerhouse connector. Leigh Burgess is here to help you break through those barriers. With over 20 years in healthcare, Leigh founded Bold Industries Group, a platform dedicated to uniting, inspiring, and empowering women. Through her Bold events, the Bold Lounge podcast, and her dynamic speaking and consulting engagements, she's been igniting bold journeys for many. Leigh's forthcoming book, Be Bold Today, Unleash Your Potential, Master Your Mindset, and Achieve Success, due to release in November 2024, delves into her bold framework, Believe, Own, Learn, Design. This framework is all about how to apply the right mindset, strategy, and wellness practices to live your best life. In this episode, Leigh will share insights from her journey, discuss her bold framework, and provide actionable advice on how you can overcome timidity and step confidently into your purpose. Whether you're looking to make a career change, start a new project, or simply live more boldly, you won't want to miss what Leigh has to share. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Leigh to the podcast. Welcome, Leigh.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
I am boldly excited to have you here. Now, you mentioned that it all began with a big swing of bold. So you've got to share what inspired you to leave a successful 20-year career in healthcare and start the Bold Industries Group.
Yeah. So I had never really thought about being an entrepreneur. It wasn't a lifelong goal or anything that I even had been exposed to. Honestly, I came to that point in my life and my career where I was burnt out and I had to choose me, my family, and my relationships. And my big swing of bold was actually choosing me because I had put everyone else and every other thing before me, and it was showing in every direction. And in the sense of, I just wasn't who I normally was. I was reactive. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating well. I wasn't moving, all the stuff that I just basically ignored because I was trying to just work harder, figure it out. Why couldn't I make things work? Why couldn't I do everything all the time? And I just got to a point in my big swing of bold was just to choose me.
I find that that is a common theme in healthcare. Sometimes people get into healthcare because they want to help, they want to serve, and then they find themselves so depleted and burnt out, and then realizing that they've put themselves last in their lives and they've gone all of these years. And then, that is super, super bold to be able to say, you know what, now in my life, I am choosing me. How great.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's not easy. So it wasn't an easy decision. It wasn't an overnight decision. It was something that I wrestled with probably for a very long time. And then things just started to play out like it was time. Like it wasn't me working harder, wasn't making it better. Me spending more time at work didn't get everything done. So like all the things that I thought were a solution to the problem just, I think, exacerbated the challenges that I was having. And it made me feel bad about myself. Like I wasn't succeeding. I wasn't successful. I wasn't, all these things started to come into my head that just weren't healthy. And so I just really wanted to make that switch. Now it was a scary thing for me. So I think being bold includes being fearful or working through fear and acting in spite of it. And I think for me, just in my family, like it was important that I did have a job. I didn't win the lottery. So unfortunately, I have to be able to think about those types of things too. So it wasn't an easy decision. But I think that's one thing I think about being bold is it is a choice.
Uh-huh.
And you can be, my moment was obviously, I think, a very loud moment of bold, but your bold moments can be quiet moments of introspection, can be creating
Mhm.
a plan, can be setting forth how to get out of debt or how to write that book or how to work on that promotion within the organization you're in, and really thinking about who are your partners and who are your collaborators and creating a plan. That's just as bold as what I did. So there really is that continuum of being bold that I think is important for people to understand as well.
Yeah, that is the true definition of courage. It's like being a bit fearful or stepping and facing your denial and doing it anyway.
Hmm.
It's like it doesn't matter to your point about how big or how small. It's the fact that you're making those steps, which are courageous in making change. And sometimes it does take a little action in order to start building that momentum and getting to a place where, yeah, you can feel yourself changing for the better. And it sounds
Yeah.
like you had quite a lot of time, or at least a bit of time, to work on yourself before you
I
started to
had
say, you know
to,
what?
yeah. I
Yeah.
chose that too. I think it was important for me because being burnt out isn't something that gets healed by doing more work or jumping into consulting gigs. It
Yeah.
just doesn't get healed that way. And in
Right.
2020, we really didn't talk that much about it. We were just beginning. It was a really gnarly year for the world. This was a point where we still didn't have a vaccine. So it was
Hmm.
very unknown, stressful time. But I think for me, I realized that if I jumped right into work or started interviewing or doing those things, which I very much wanted to, because like there was, you got to do this, you only have a certain amount of runway, because I did have a runway to do this and it wasn't even a year long based on
Hmm.
savings and retirement and those sort of things that we use. So it was
Hmm.
important for me to realize that I couldn't do that and do that well if I jumped right back into work. So when I was going through that process of just like decompressing from being burnt out, from realizing that you can be strategic and be well and you can be a high performer and take care of yourself. You can think about your growth mindset and be strategic. Like you just don't always need to be one or the other. And for very much for a long time, I was only thinking about the strategy and performance and how was I doing and what was I accomplishing,
Hmm.
and the wellness piece kind of really did feel like it fell to the wayside. So that's why I put it in the forefront of really what I call my healing process. I got my own coach. I believe in that and I think that's important, and I really wanted to work through it. And that's really where the bold framework was created, was during that time of healing, because I was, how do I do this? What's it look like? I'm a visual person. So I remember just
Yeah.
kind of drawing it out. I'm really into acronyms. And so I already was using the word bold and thinking about that. How could I create it? What I was doing. And it started with believe, which is all about our beliefs and how they can help us, hinder us, or harm us, and understanding where they come from. When I was going through the process with my coach, I thought we were on the chapter about shadows in a way. I called it a chapter, but then we were going through the process about shadows. And I said, we can skip that chapter. I don't have any shadows. And it was exact. It's that's kind of what she did. She kind of laughed and she's like, okay, we're going to keep going. And of course you do. That's why they're called that. But I think it was interesting just for me to unpack some of my beliefs about myself, about what I felt I was responsible for, and what I was owning that I didn't need to own. And that kind of leads us to ownership of really owning our own life, our steps. Things are potentially, people feel like things are happening to them and they have no control. And there are some
Hmm.
things that we don't control in the world. There's a lot of things actually, but we can control how we react. We can control what we do, what our habits are, and we can be motivated every day by keeping within our habits and our discipline that we set for ourselves to achieve our goals. So that ownership is really like, you own it. You own your life, you own your happiness, you own your health. Like you really are in charge, and making sure that you understand that. And then learning is the L, and it's all about that. That's what life's about, honestly. And I hope I'll always be learning. And I think how we apply it, looking at our successes and our failures, and we learn a lot from things that don't work out. And I think unpacking those a bit and then applying them back with that growth mindset oriented way to our plans, and understanding how to design, which is the D, our best life forward, and making sure that it's as aligned as much as possible with our passion and our purpose. And really that's what I wanted to do, because I just felt like I had like lost some of the passion I had for my job, for what I did. And I believe it's so important. And like you said, a lot of people in healthcare give a lot of themselves because of whether they're a servant leader or whether they're serving patients
Mhm.
or whether they're just extremely good at their job and taking care of others. And so it's very important in some form or fashion to always be kind of refilling the cup. And I think mine just was empty and I didn't see the red flashing light for a very long time. So making sure that I could regain my passion to what meant the most for me and work with people who wanted to work like I work.
Brilliant, brilliant. I love the acronym. It's so easy to remember. I think that even though it's easy to remember, the steps are quite hard. I mean, the steps are
Yeah.
really deep, it's deep work, what you're
Yes.
doing as far as just really evaluating what are your beliefs. Just as you were mentioning, you didn't believe you had a shadow side. No, let's just ignore that. Let's brush that under the
Yeah.
rug. And
Like,
so
oh, what is
sometimes,
that?
yeah, you got to boldly face the shadow.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
boldly see what you don't really want to see or what you want to pretend isn't really there. And
Right.
so, yeah, I would love for you to share with us because I know a lot of people have these fears, they have these self doubts, they have a lack of confidence, they're feeling burnt out. And then they come and they're like, something has to change. I really need to figure out myself in order to make sure that my life going forward is happy, as healthy, as thriving as I want for it to be.
Mhm.
You emphasize the intersection of mindset, strategy, and wellness. And so
Mhm.
I'd love to see, how do you integrate all of those into the work that you do with the Bold framework?
Yeah. So you go through the phases of believe, own, learn, design, and you are absolutely right. It's hard work and it's not a one and done either. So just because you were burnt out and kind of recovered like me doesn't mean you won't fall back into some of the habits, which I have
Mhm.
over the last four
Mhm.
years. So like last December was like a reminder for me of like, wow, you're doing it again when you
Yeah.
don't want to do this again. So I think it is definitely not a one and done, but your mindset really is connected to your belief system. So I think understanding that and making sure and ownership, right? The world, all these things are happening to me, poor me, like my boss is
Mhm.
this, my husband is that, my friends are that. It's just everyone else has an issue and I don't know what it's. That's not a way that I could ever live. And I
Mhm.
think that is really a fixed mindset world that you really can't grow in. So really thinking about how your mindset is connected to your beliefs is integral throughout the process of the Bold framework. And then the wellness piece is the one I had completely forgotten. And I don't mean just going to a spa, that's lovely. I mean actually thinking about your emotional, your physical, and your spiritual health and how are you feeding and nurturing it. I
Mhm.
had basically pushed all my friends away. Like I was very focused on work. My
Mhm.
relationships with my family were solid, but not really, I wasn't nurturing them like I wanted to be. People couldn't
Mhm.
talk to me easily because I was always stressed out. So like really thinking about your wellness and how are you feeding that? And for me, it just, I had to do it in a very intentional way and I still do. And I think it's important for people when they're thinking about their strategies or their next move, or maybe they want to get a degree or get a promotion or help do something in social policy, or they want to do something and get out there and, maybe start a business. There's steps to get there from a practical, tactical way. There's also like, how do you keep your mindset in a positive place when you don't get the funding? How do you keep yourself in a positive place
Yeah.
and positive talk to yourself when you don't get that promotion? Like, what are you doing in the background to really boost up your strategy with your wellness and your mindset? Because with their ingredients that are a must have for you to be successful, in my opinion. And that's really where we focus on that work through each of the pieces and parts of the framework, is bringing in the mindset piece and the wellness piece into each of the framework pillars.
Can you walk me through how you guide people into a shifting of beliefs? Because that, I feel, is really the groundwork of change. Is like, if you believe that you're not enough, then those kinds of things will continue recurring until you actually eradicate them from your belief system. Like, what is it that people can do to really go from a place of saying, like, you know what, I might have thought that I wasn't enough before, but now I know I am enough, that I truly deserve this, that I'm
Yeah.
all of those good things, because that seems to be the crux of a lot of the mindset shift that we're trying to go for.
Yeah, it's definitely, I don't do the work. I think that's the key piece to understand is my coaching clients or the organizations I work with, they're really doing the work. What I'm doing is creating the space for reflection for mirroring, for shouting it out and writing it down, like getting out like truly what you want to achieve. I'm a believer of a vision board, whether you do it electronically or whether you just write it down or whether you actually create the visuals for it. Like, what is the vision for yourself 6 months from now? So I like to just even thinking about as we kind of end 24 and start 25. And I'm already talking with people about that. Like, what are we going to do for the next 6 months and how is that going to look? And what have you, and I'm not doing it in a the world is ending type of way. I was like, we have lots of possibility and opportunity, but we need to start. And so I think, what I do in the sessions and in working through the framework is help people understand where to start because it's
Mhm.
personal.
Mhm.
Someone may just be like, I just want to talk about it. I want to write it down and create a plan. And my date may change or where I'm going may change, but I just want to start really being curious about it because I haven't let myself even think it was even possible. And then we go, okay, why did you think it wasn't possible? What was, well, financially, I just don't think I could make that type of a leap because that was a big, for me, a big holdback, I think was I knew I should have left earlier, but I just
Mm.
kept going because I didn't think it was
Yeah.
financially possible to even do make what I made anywhere else, let alone on my own. It wasn't even something I thought of. And so I had talked myself out of leaving a bunch of times, which that
Mhm.
just made my burnout even worse and the situation
Mhm.
even worse. And so for me, that's something that definitely comes up for a lot of people, or they feel like it's selfish, or they feel like they can't think about themselves, which again, I could fall into that easily. And I am someone that has thought often and have worked through not being enough, not feeling enough. And for me, that was really important in that time to go, wow. Like someone asked me the other day, like, what was the most surprising thing about the first year of entrepreneurship for you? And for me, it was that I did it. I succeeded. Like I did something I didn't even think I could do, but I did it because I chose it. Like I made that left, right, forward movement. Let me try, let me see, write it down and get at it. And I think
Mhm.
that's what holds people back sometimes is it stops at thinking and they don't get to the action part of what they need to do.
Yes.
And that's really where I focus in is like, let's go from what you think is possible to now acting on it and putting it into play by taking some action. Whether again, it's you're creating the plan, you're creating the timeline, or you're actually going through it all, creating the plan, timeline, and doing it at the same time. And then having someone to really back you up, cheer you on, but also I think challenge you in certain areas when someone says, well, you said you wanted to do it by now, but what happened? Well, things changed and this happened and that happened and life does happen. And there are some things that can delay you from making those moves that you need to make for sure. But how do you get back on track or how do you
Yeah.
set a new date versus it just doesn't ever happen? Because that I think can happen to people too, is they get started and it gets scary or they start to see some
Mhm.
of the things that happen. For me, like when I first started out, I was still interviewing and trying to get a real job and at the same time I'm starting my business and my energy was across all these areas and it just
Mhm.
didn't work.
Yeah.
I had to really be what I call all in on plan A, which I'm a plan A through Z person, so I need all the backup plans. So it was very opposite of how I ever operated to really just be totally focused energy wise on plan A, but with that concerted energy and acknowledgement of like I have to have this succeed. I need to really focus on this. That's what led to my success in year one and
Mm.
every year after.
Yeah, you touch on so many important things because after burnout, I mean, you just lack that energy. You feel like it's so hard to even shift. Sometimes you're feeling even more down on yourself.
I felt
You
something
might
was
be,
wrong with me.
yeah, you
Like I
might be in a
really
state
did.
of
Yeah.
depression. You might
I
also be
failed.
feeling,
Yeah.
you might be
Yeah.
feeling anxiety because you feel failure and you're intimidated to go and do what's next. And so all of these things are certainly working against you in terms of making forward progress, but that's okay. I mean, you've got to start where you're at. It's okay to kind of sit in it and recover and get yourself to a place where every day is just, it gets a little bit easier for you to get up out of bed and to do small steps. And then eventually it's wonderful to be able to say, I know that I want to make a shift.
Mhm.
Right now, it's almost like when people say, you should drink 8 glasses of water. And you're like, I know I should drink 8 glasses of water and I just can't I just don't want to, or I just can't, or it's
Yeah.
just, there's too many other excuses that it's good for you. And so eventually you'll get to that place where you're going to be able to meet the goals because you'll know that they are beneficial for you and they'll start building upon each other and you'll get more
Yeah,
positive
and you've chosen
momentum
it. I
going
mean, I've
forward.
heard 1,000 times over the last 4 years, "I know what I need to do, I'm just not doing it."
Yep.
Well, then
Yep.
what are your beliefs around why you're not doing it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you wanna work out every day. What are your beliefs of why you can't? What are your
Mm-hmm.
beliefs of why you can? which ones are
Mhm.
winning right now,
Mhm.
right? Well, like I travel too much or in meetings all day and I get home really late. And those are all really good reasons why it may be more difficult, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. So I think that's the other thing. Boldness isn't something that's easy. It isn't something just like a hero's cape and someone does it. Like
Mhm.
it takes hard work and
Yeah.
tenacity and resilience. And it's not like resilience and like getting knocked down by the same thing every time and getting right back up. I mean, like resilience and working through like the tough times, the times that sometimes are just between your ears of like
Yeah.
just the talk that might happen when things don't work out like you should.
Yeah.
You said some really great points in there. It is that starting where you're at. Like,
Mhm.
and everybody starts at a different spot. And so just
Mhm.
acknowledging that in every scenario is very important as I work with people through the Bold framework. In the book, it's really begin where you're going to begin. Where I started is not where you started, is not where, another person starts. And so I think it's personal. And so make it personal for you and don't feel like, oh, I'm behind
Yeah.
or I can't or I'm not ready. You definitely need to begin when you don't feel ready.
Yeah.
And you definitely need to start where you're at, not where anyone else is.
Yeah, I know when I was going through my burnout, it took me many, many years to say, you know what, I'm giving myself this grace to say, like, okay, I can beat myself up for not going to the gym or not doing this or not
Mhm.
meeting goals and whatnot. But ultimately, it's like, if I can't go to the gym, you know what, I can make a point to stand up from my desk every hour, or I can make a point to get outside, get the mail, maybe walk around the block once, or maybe
Right.
I can, and you just start really like little tiny steps that are things that you feel that you can do rather than these big, oh, it doesn't mean that you have to get into your gym shorts and go to the drive
Yeah.
someplace and go to the gym, because that is a lot more
It's
efforting than
annoying.
perhaps, yeah. And then you get the sweating and then you gotta, and
Yeah.
then I'm like, oh, I've got to shower afterwards and then make dinner, so there's always so many excuses that you can put upon yourself as to why it's more comfortable or convenient to not do it. But yet, yeah, there are things that we can do to just build into our lifestyle that are edging ourselves more towards a healthy effect going
Right.
forward.
Well, we
And,
think about the
those
word
steps
even
are bold.
yeah, sorry. I think we
Yeah.
think about the word comfort, like you just said that. And like comfort food came to mind for me,
Yeah.
right? So like things that, but it's called that for a reason, right? It's something that makes you feel warm or comfortable or better, but it's comfortable. And so
Mm-hmm.
usually I want to say 99.9% of the time you're being bold, it's uncomfortable. It's
Mm-hmm.
not going to feel good to take that longer walk or to go that extra mile or to get up earlier potentially to do something that you can't fit in because of your schedule for that day. But if you're really committed to it, which is through your habits in your own discipline of yourself, that's where it starts to click and that's where it starts to go. And like you said, it can be something small. Maybe you have a larger goal, but I always say, like, how do you chunk it back to like, what can you do today that adds to that goal? And
Mm-hmm.
don't really think that far ahead. Like, just think about the next 7 days. Like, over the next 7 days, how many steps can I get? Maybe I had this huge goal of 10,000 a day. Let's just take that off. Like, if that hasn't worked, you need to reset your goals. I think sometimes people also wait for these big moments, like end of the year or my birthday or my anniversary, like things that come up. There are these big moments in our life, which are wonderful moments. But like, you can be goal setting in August 1st. Like, it's a
Yep.
great day to set a goal.
Today.
So like we just celebrate every day as a day to start something new or to get back on track and don't keep doing the same thing over and over. Like, it just, I'm going to walk 10,000 steps a day. If that didn't work before, knock it down to 5. It doesn't mean that you're lowering your standards or lowering your expectations, which for me, that took a while too, to like get
Mm-hmm.
through. Like, no,
Mm-hmm.
it means my goal didn't actually match my ability
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
to do it, whether it's time or whether it's my ability to walk that far yet or
Such a good
to give
point.
it that much effort because of my schedule, whatever it may be. But make your goals not all stretch goals. Maybe 10 still the goal, like if you can make it, but you're going to do 3 a day. Some days, like I was at a point where I didn't even leave the house because it was COVID and we're working remotely. And I looked at my phone and like at 97 steps, literally, and that was probably just coming up the stairs to my office. And my husband would say, "She rounds down." And I'm like, "Okay, if you say so," right? Just being silly. But yeah, like that's terrible. And so, like, obviously I'm better than that, but I'm still working on that. But I can't just say, "Oh, I didn't make that big goal, so I just give up." No, I need to reset and rearrange kind of how I was maybe strategizing my goal. And then maybe my goal needs to just be edited right now, and then I'll keep ramping it back up.
Right. Oh, I would love to pause for a moment and just invite our listeners, our viewers to think about what you're doing in the course of your day and what is that one thing that you might be able to add to your day that could help you stretch yourself outside your comfort zone.
Mhm.
It could be anything. It could be some activity. It could be something from a work perspective. It could be something relationship perspective. What is that one thing that would help you to feel that you are in a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset? Something where you know that you are working on some self development and self love and self care at the same time, while also knowing that you are safe, you are protected, you are comfortable, you are able to live your life, but also just get to that place where there's a little bit more resiliency, there's a little bit more growth, there's a little bit more movement of the muscles. It could be anything at all. Just think about that right now. Pause, reflect, and say, what would it take in order to have that built into your daily routine? What is that? What is that something that might be a little bit more for you? Because you deserve more. And I think that your life can definitely accommodate more for you. Wow. Now, Leigh, you also host these bold retreats, the bold
Mhm.
table, and these focus on community building and strategic wellness. Can you tell us what participants can expect from these events and what kind of impact they might have had on past attendees?
Sure. And these are something that I never planned to do. They kind of came out of building the community and working with people through coaching. And
So cool.
my first event that I did was the Bold Retreat. And I wanted something that did focus on strategy, wellness, and mindset because you can go to retreats for each one of those. But I wanted something, I still want to be efficient. I still want to be agile, but I want it to feel in a way that you can do both and actually start to show people how to do both, right? We
Mm,
spend the mornings in strategy sessions together with a focus. Each of them has a different particular focus and what our theme is for that particular retreat. And then the rest of the day is a scheduled time for them, whether we schedule them at the spa or schedule them in sessions for yoga, or they go biking, or maybe they go to the beach, or they go out on a winery tour, whatever it may be. We've been in 5 different incredible locations. And really, I want them just to show up. So it's an all inclusive retreat. So all you have to do is get there, and then everything is taken care of you from that point forward. And that's really nice too. And then we come back together each night in community and dinner. And so we have basically a bold table dinner each evening. I want it to feel very special and very elevated. And it's just a very, very special time. So that's the bold retreat. The bold
mm,
table is kind of like a piece of that. So if you think of the community setting of sitting down and sharing a meal and having conversation that's deeper than standing at a cocktail table with a prompt, that's really what the bold table is all about. We have had 8 of those with our ninth one coming up in the
mm,
fall. And all of these have sold out. All of them have waiting lists. And really the bold table is all about deeper conversations, community, and really getting to know someone than just their title or what they do. Because I think that's one of the nice things around the bold community is really understanding we're 360-degree human beings
mm,
and we do more than just our work or our title. Oh, that's a very important part of ourselves. It isn't all of ourselves. And
mhm,
so being able to be curious and to cheer people on and champion them and as well as challenge them is what the bold table comes out to be. And then from all of that over the last 4 years, I then created the Bold Leaders Collective, which is that community. It's an online community and in person through our events like those ones I just talked about. I'm in there every day in the community. We have 100 members. We just opened membership today for the next cohort 4. And it really is a place and space to get to know people. And so we're constantly having chats or talking to each other, or we're sitting together with other experts who we invited in our Bold Power Hours. And then we're getting to see each other in those in-person moments of the bold events. And it really just, again, expands our space to come together and to inspire one another, as well as cheer them on and sometimes challenge. And they challenge
mm.
me right back. So I think it's definitely a two-way street when it comes to our community of cheering and championing.
Wow, these sound like amazing experiences that you've created that could have such meaningful impact for so many and such great support for people
Mhm.
to come together and just be vulnerable and share what they're going through and also cheer each other on with some inspiration. I love
Yeah,
that.
because life happens, right?
Yeah.
And understanding what that's all about, whether it's like my son graduated or my mom, dad are separating or and they're, been married for 37 years. I mean, that happened. My dad fell down and I need to go take care of him. I'm going back to school. I got a
Mm,
new job. I was just let go. Like all these things are happening
Yeah.
in addition to you being XYZ title and having
Yeah.
XYZ experience. And I think a lot of memberships focus on those things, which are important elements of who we are, but really our membership is there to really think of you as a whole person and then support you as a whole being. And that's what's bold about it.
Oh, how brilliant. Brilliant. Now you've got a forthcoming book coming out, Be Bold Today, Unleash Your Potential, Master Your Mindset, and Achieve Success. What do you hope that readers will take away from this book?
I think the main thing is just to realize that what they're seeking or what they're curious about is possible, and how they can explore it is through that bold framework. So the book actually walks through the framework itself, how to apply it with resources and activities throughout the book. And additionally, it goes deeply into our belief system and understanding how our beliefs really are the foundation. So I spend some time really getting deep into that. Like we talked about at the beginning, it's not an overnight thing that you can do. And it is a chapter probably to be reread. And then I think there's also myths around being bold of like, it's careless or it's risky or I'm too old to be bold or just, I can't do it at this time in my life or whatever it may be. There's certain myths that I talk through that I think help people understand, oh, like being bold doesn't mean I'm confident all the time, because confidence is something that can go up or down, but is your belief in yourself strong? And so really understanding that and how that connects back in. So we walk through that and the framework with the ability at the end of the book to have your design or your blueprint ready for kind of you to start and take that, what I call the right left forward.
Now, so if anybody is interested in working with you or attending one of your events, how can they get involved and start their journey with Bold Industries Group?
Yeah, so the best thing is just to check out my website, leighburgess.com. Everything is there around the book, around the framework, around coaching, and our events. And it's a great place and space to see our community as well. Lots of pictures of our community there and what we're about and some of the things that we've done together already.
Beautiful. Well, Leigh Burgess, thank you so much for all of the work that you're doing and for doing that self-reflection yourself, which has spawned this beautiful community and all of this inspiration that you are spreading out into the world. I truly appreciate you. You are such a beautiful human. Thank you for being my podcast guest today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate what you're doing too. It's having such an impact of letting people realize the beauty in life and what they can accomplish. They just have to choose it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Human Beauty Movement podcast. Be sure to follow, rate, and review us wherever you stream podcasts. The Human Beauty Movement is a community-based platform that cultivates the beauty of humankind. Check out our workshops, find us on social media, and share our inspiration with all the beautiful humans in your life. Learn more at thehumanbeautymovement.com. Thank you so much for being a beautiful human.